Hello and welcome back to another episode of Chair Shots to the Cranium. I am your host, Stephen Goforth. I'm back with another fantastic interview with The Awakening, also known as the Ascension from WWE. These guys are fantastic, wonderful guys to talk to. I had a really good conversation with them about so many different things. Number one, their affiliation with Universal Championship Wrestling. They got a show coming up September the 12th in Greenville, South Carolina, talking about that and also how much they enjoy being a part of Universal Championship Wrestling and what kind of great organization that is to work for. Also talk about their history in the wrestling business, starting out in NXT and being the longest reigning NXT champions ever. Their call up to WWE, how they felt about their characters, where did the name Awakening come from, how did they develop their characters as the Ascension. They're extremely entertaining segments with Breezango on the Fashion Files, and so much more. You don't want to miss this interview because these guys are taking the independent wrestling scene by storm, doing what they do best, and being one of the best tag teams in professional wrestling. Make sure you go check out Universal Championship Wrestling at ucwtv.com. Again, that's ucwtv.com. You can also buy tickets on the website to any show that they're going to have coming up. You definitely want to make sure you can check out the Ascension, again, coming up September the 12th, 2021 in Greenville, South Carolina. Without further ado, let's jump right into the interview with The Awakening, a.k.a. the Ascension. Ladies and gentlemen, my guests today are two men who form one of the most intriguing and dynamic tag teams in professional wrestling. They have experienced success all over the globe, became the longest running tag team champions, dominated countless opponents with their innovative yet powerful in-ring tactics, and they're now experiencing success and domination on the independent wrestling scene. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome Big Con and Vic, The Awakening, also known as The Ascension. Guys, how you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having us.
Wow. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Hell of an intro.
Yeah, man. Pleasure's all mine. I appreciate you guys taking the time. So like I said earlier, you guys are dominating the indie scene. You're making your second appearance with Universal Championship Wrestling on Sunday, September 12th in Greenville, South Carolina. Tell me about your experience so far with UCW. I believe you guys are going to be in a Four Corners match at that event.
Yeah, well, so far, it's been pretty positive. We just started meeting. We just met Mr. Ron Gossett, the last TV taping that we did, and apparently he liked what he's seen. And honestly, it's kind of best of what we do. We left pretty much what we do best, and that's pounding on people and leave them laying. So I think we made a pretty good impression the last time we were there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I know I liked it. Was definitely a great show. I liked just how everything was set up and how Ron's got everything running, and there was some pretty awesome talent on that show.
Big Papa Pump.
Yeah, that was awesome for me to get to watch Big Papa Pump in person. I've loved Steiner forever, both him and his brother, but even just watching him still go out and do it was pretty cool.
Yes, Scott, former UCW champion. He's been with the organization for a number of years.
Pretty cool.
Well, you guys will be joined on the card by Eric Redbeard, a.k.a. Eric Rowan. He'll be at the show on September 12th. And also Universal Heavyweight Champion Carlito will also be there. So I tell you what, it's going to be something you don't want to miss. It sounds like it's going to be a really, really good show. And you guys being a part of it and coming in there and quite possibly dominating that Four Corners match should be very interesting.
Kind of what we do. I mean, we've wound up in quite a few of these so far since we've been on the indies. So this one will just be another one under the belt. A bunch more people left laying.
Well, let me ask you a question. How did you come up with your new name, The Awakening? Is that sort of a reference to your move away from WWE, or is that from something else?
No, it actually.
No, it's actually interesting, right?
Yeah, because I think we had sat around and tried to figure out a new name for quite a while while we were, just in purgatory, more or less. And we really couldn't decide on anything. And then we were doing a podcast with Lewis Nichols over from the UK, and his buddy, Just Dave. Yeah, he said, I got a name for you guys. And, I know a lot of the times we hear stuff and we're just like, oh, okay. And he said it, and we both just kind of like stopped and like all stared at each other, like nothing to, didn't have anything to say. And he's like, what do you guys think? And we're like, oh, I think that's it.
Mhm.
I wanted to rag on it so bad, and it was so
I,
good. I was like, how come we
yeah,
never thought of that? That is so
yeah,
good, and it just suits,
very
I
much. Yeah,
think, this time in our life, and where we're at. So it's almost, it was too perfect. It
yeah.
just
I
fit.
agree. Yeah, I agree. I thought it was great when I heard that. I was like, wow, what a great name. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and quite honestly, that's why I asked if it's a reference from your move from WWE because, moving away from there, sort of awakening your characters, awakening as a person, awakening as a team, starting something new as you move away from that. And that's kind of what popped in my mind. I was curious to hear your thoughts on that. So that's interesting.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Like even the more I think about it, like I walked by the shirt, on my bag earlier, and I was just thinking all those exact same things, like in every aspect, life, work. It couldn't fit any better right now. That's for sure.
Right.
Well, let's take a trip down memory lane for a second. You guys formed as a tag team right at 10 years ago, roughly. When you came up with your look and your persona, were you influenced by any classic tag teams when you did that, like the Road Warriors, like Demolition? But where did that inspiration come from?
Well, I think 10 years ago, well, when we first started doing this, it really didn't even have that Road Warrior-esque type look of anything. There was no shoulder pads or anything. It was more of a, I don't know, Vic, I would say more, it was more like a goth type feel, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because even
Like a
like
vampire.
in yeah, because that was kind of the incarnation of it before um I was before we teamed up, and then I remember trying to figure it out, what they wanted me to do when they finally gave me the go ahead, and put us together. And I was like, well, let's see what happens. You know what I mean? And, definitely like when I started with you, I had the black contacts and the steampunk
Yeah.
goggles and, um, that kind of thing. And then we just kind of kept evolving until WWE changed us, and then we had to still evolve again within that. Um, but I mean, I don't know what I would ever say for influence. Like I remember when I kind of changed to baggier gear, I was just looking at like black metal design stuff that people were wearing and whatnot like that, and it wasn't so much looking at other wrestlers and what they were doing. I was trying to figure out something different, but I always kept, our designs, I think, even like just our, I guess technically our little name design, like our initials or whatever on our gear. I stole mine from from Clive Barker actually, and a symbol
Nice.
that he used in one of his stories. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to change it a little bit because it's a V anyway.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's where that came from.
And I wish I had a cooler story with that, but I really don't, because once Vic had the V, I said, well, you might as well make a circle around it and put a K into it because it just looks good,
Yeah.
But I really didn't. I agree with Vic on this, because even with me, like I really didn't have an influence on any type of tag team either. I think we were just trying to be us.
Yeah.
And that's what you saw, I think, through the NXT version of what you've seen. It was just who we were. We were just amped up times 10. Like, we both love metal.
Yeah.
We're both pretty intense when the bell rings. And that's just what you got. There was no, Road Warriors or Demolition or Powers of Pain. Number one, you can't even replicate those guys because
No.
they're just who they are. Like,
Yeah.
so we were just us. And that was, I think what the universe took us as, like, just as who we were. And then, powers to be, they had a vision and they wanted to make it to be something. And we just, rolled with the punches, and we just decided, okay, well, this is what it is. And we'll just evolve however we evolve in it.
I can
Well, speak.
remember actually, we never even thought about comparing ourselves to any other team
No.
until it was one of the first NXT takeovers we did. And we were backstage, and I remember we were talking to Bill Apter, and he was the one that I first heard made the comparison of how we were like, if the Road Warriors and Demolition and like, I don't know if he said Midnight Express or Rock and Roll Express, but he's like, if all of them had some weird Love Baby tag team, that would be you guys. And, you know, we just laughed and we're like, geez, I never even thought about that.
Well, speaking of NXT, you guys still on the longest reign as NXT Tag Team Champions. I mean, you guys really laid the groundwork for NXT. When you look back, what really stood out to you as the best part of that long run? And is there anything that maybe you would have done differently during that time?
I think on my end, I don't think I would have changed really much of anything. And I think that was what the payoff
No,
was, is because we worked so hard. And, we did so much, comparatively to what, it was now. With the grind, it was so much more, and working through injuries and things that you had to do. It made it that, to me, it made it that much more special when we actually did get those championships. Because Vic and I had, really put everything that we had into it. So I don't think I would change a thing on my end, because I don't think it would have been as special to me to not only, win those titles, but to keep them as long as we did, because that was hard work that we put in.
yeah, that's for sure. No, I agree with you on the, I wouldn't change a thing. Like I couldn't go back and change a thing anyway, even if, there's nothing to change. It really, I mean, it was like when you went to work every day, you had something to prove, you know what I mean, to keep ourselves where we were. And it was always, I mean, I feel like everything we did was a challenge, but a challenge that like you kind of enjoyed. Um, even when you didn't think you were, more or less, because like I always felt so driven at that time. Like I don't know if I've ever felt any more driven in my life than at that time, just to do what we did. And like now looking back at it all, even like I've said, I didn't really think about it for a long time after we left WWE about being the longest reigning NXT champions. And it kind of wasn't until the last few months, well, I guess since COVID hit, I didn't think about it. But when they started just releasing so many people, and I realized that, we were still the longest reigning NXT tag champions, I was like, man, we were the only people that they really invested in like that in the longest time. So that's still a pretty awesome honor to hold that, thinking about it in those terms even.
Oh
You
yeah.
guys, you guys got the phone call or got pulled aside roughly 2014, says, hey, you're moving up. You're getting the call up here. When that happened, did you see your characters, staying the same as you moved up, or were you wanting to explore other ideas when it come to your persona? What were your thoughts there on that call up, and maybe what could happen to you as a team?
Well, I think for me, I didn't think anything was going to change until Dusty had kind of talked to us briefly about some stuff that was going to happen possibly. And then, of course, here's the deal. Like at the end of the day, I mean, you can either roll with the punches or you don't. So if you decide you don't want to do it, well, guess what? There's going to be another team waiting in line to take your spot, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you just try to, no matter how negative sometimes things could be, you always try to make them as positive as you can. Um, and it's just one of those, and I think that's just in life situations. When we saw, and again, this is just me speaking, when we saw what we saw, it was like, okay, well, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because you're like, oh man, this is nothing like what we thought that we were going to be. But two, I think we had worn out our welcome at that point by, the time we spent in NXT, that the coaches, and Dream and and Ryan Katz were probably just happy to see us go, because they knew how hard we had worked. So it's kind of, it was like that fine line for me.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I saw the pictures of what they wanted us to be, I was like, well, that sucks, because that's not really us. Like that's some weird vision, you know what I mean? That just they had creative do up, and I was like, we'll deal with it when we get there, type of thing. And I think at that minute too, it was just like, okay, we're gonna go. Let's go. This is something else to work with. This is just another challenge we're gonna work around. And even at first with what they had us doing, it was like, okay, this is just gonna be something else we're gonna overcome and work around, and we'll have it work out one way or another. And it worked out the way it did. And unfortunately, we never really got to evolve the way we wanted to. I think we still had a lot of good evolution, but we didn't go up and go in as who we should have, or who we were at the time. So
What's your opinion on being scripted, and maybe sometimes too much, and yet having the freedom to implement your own creative ideas? I mean, did you guys feel like you were handcuffed when it come to certain things, or did you have the ability to be creative and do what you kind of wanted to do, or have a lot of input there? I mean, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to come up with your own segments like we're seeing other companies starting to do now?
I I personally think anybody would, to be honest with you,
yeah,
because that's, being true to who you are.
Right.
And, I'm a firm believer that when you're not true to who you are, fans can see through that anyways.
yeah, definitely.
And you're being something that you're not, so already, that's already an uphill battle. But, for me, I think that I think there should be, bullet points when it comes to certain things for me specifically. But I just believe that at the same time, like some of these megastars that you've seen throughout their careers that we've all grown up to love and to watch and see, a lot of those guys, had free reigns. They could say whatever they needed to say or what they wanted to say. And that's why you get these mega stars, So I think I truly believe that you should be able to just free flow with a lot of your stuff. I really do think that you should have your angles written up to the way that you want them to go, because to me, that just makes good business.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if I agree with that on the fact of when you're doing something and you're working towards the goal or the end of your storyline type of thing, there's nothing wrong with that being planned out. But I think when you have other people putting words in your mouth and they don't, I don't know, kind of if they don't identify with you, and you can say their words and you feel that they're wrong, but they don't, what I mean, feel it, it makes it really hard. Things don't come off as good as they should. And I think that was a big difference with us, and what they had us saying when we started to compared to what we were saying at Fashion Pals, which is, as goofy as that was, there was so much more creative freedom in there, and that was so much more fun and entertaining, for everybody. So.
Yeah, that's a great segue. What I'm going to talk to you about here in just a second, for sure. But adding to what you said, Big Con, about stars, I think stars are created whenever they can be themselves, and have that input. And it's like an actor or an actress, and they can choose a role they want to take on if they feel like they can become that person, become that persona, and I feel like if you're in that environment that maybe WWE is putting some of the wrestlers in, that there doesn't matter whether you like it or not, you got to do this. So I feel like that's why I asked that question. You got to kind of give and take a little bit here, and kind of like we're seeing AEW do and some other promotions, UCW. Be yourself. You have some input here. Let's do this together, and let's try to make the best character we possibly can for you and for the fans. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I think about when, we've heard, me and Connor have had the ability to talk to a lot of awesome people, and a lot of them had to say they had to take a chance and maybe do something that they thought they weren't supposed to do or could get in trouble for in those situations. But it usually worked out for them. But still, at that point, they were in those situations where they were able to take that chance and kind of prove it to Vince.
Right.
In those aspects of hey, this is who I am, and let's see how this goes. Because then if they do it and it doesn't work out, well, it's on them. You know what I mean? And it's, I've heard a lot in the business. Would you rather die on your ship or on somebody else's ship?
Yeah, great point.
So, and I mean, that's a big difference, I think, with a lot of talent. And I know sometimes, like even for us, we'd end up doing some of our stuff live sometimes. And we'd always kind of get annoyed during the recording of certain backstage segments because there's just like something about it sometimes. It just feels weird. And then we'd, have to do like what was it, the Thanksgiving thing or something live where it was all this goofy stuff and people would be stressed out about it. And I think for us, we were always just more comfortable being like, well, we only got one shot at this, so we better do it.
Yeah.
So true.
So let's talk about the fashion files, because I had that on my bullet points here. I was like, I have to ask them about this because I was extremely entertained with you guys with the fashion files with Breezango. Did you guys enjoy showing that more comedic side to your characters, or did you prefer to just be more menacing and dominating of a tag team? What did you think about that?
I enjoyed it. It was, I think, um, from my aspect of it, I think that I think it opened up a different avenue for Vic and I, and we got to go out there and we got to showcase something that the fans really weren't used to seeing. Number one, which is kind of cool because they're always used to seeing these big guys that come out and are like blah blah blah, we're gonna kick your butt and there's nothing you can do about it. And then you get to see these guys dress up like janitors walking around, getting picked on or putting wigs on or just letting loose, and it was so much fun. And I think the fans had a lot of fun watching it as well because the reactions seem to be pretty good. Anyone we've ever talked to, they seem to have really enjoyed it. And which is funny because originally when we did our first one, we were like, oh boy, this is going to be kind of rough.
Yeah, I don't even think we'd seen them do it before. And then we just wound up in a closet for like half a day.
Closet with chains and yelling and screaming.
Yeah, when we were over in England, we were like, and in between filming stuff, like I didn't even leave the closet. I just sat in there. I was like, this is dumb. I'm not leaving. I'm just going to sit in here and be the closet or something. I don't know. And then when we saw it, it worked out so well and it just kept going on and being so much more fun with everything we got to do. I mean, that's still one of my favorite things that we did. And two, we actually got to feel and see the crowds change, like their reaction to us change. And, like one of our last few European tours, I remember we went over and they still had us booked as like being against them at first. And the crowd was like, what's going on? This doesn't make any sense. And I remember the agents having to like call and be like, hey, we've got to change this. Like the people are up to date on what's going on these guys over here. We got to switch a bunch of the booking. So, that was pretty awesome to see.
It was nice too, because that was like something that I mean, I want to say for the longest, right, Vic? Like we never did anything like that together. So it was refreshing. It was like being reborn, basically.
Well, yeah. I mean, we knew we could be funny because like when we used to do stuff in promo class for Dream. And because we would always do very serious stuff, but once there started to be more characters around, we were able to play a little bit more, and we found, we knew that we could find ways of being entertaining and not just being, these menacing two dudes. We knew we were more, so it was always so awesome that we finally got to show that.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was great to see a different side of you guys and, laugh out loud moments on several of those skits. So I was very entertained. A lot of people I spoke with felt the same way. So I thought you guys did a wonderful job with that. So let me ask you a question. When you look back, I'm going to ask that traditional question about your most memorable match, right? Because was there one you look back on and say, okay, that was it. That was it right there. That was the one. Can you guys think of a match like that?
Oh man, I have a hard time remembering a lot of matches.
Or an opponent?
I mean, when we won the tag titles was one, against Neville and Graves. For me, I know the match when the Falls Count Anywhere match we had with Camacho and Hunico.
That was big. That one
That
changed our push.
Yeah, completely. That was a big
That
game
one,
changer for us.
yeah. But I gotta say, it was probably, I don't know why, Vic, but yeah, wrestling in New Age Outlaws was super cool because it was our first pay-per-view. But man, there was just something about being in the ring with Too Cool for whatever reason.
Yeah, that one too. Like I feel like I remember more NXT matches than I can anything else, because we had it so good in that aspect in NXT where we really got to, I think, push ourselves harder.
Yeah.
With more people anyway, because like we did have such a wide variety there to work with. Like even when you go from Hunico and Camacho to Too Cool to like Finn Balor and
Kenta.
Yeah, and Kenta and stuff like that. Like it was, and when we worked the Wolves, that was always really memorable too.
Yeah. There was a lot of good. When you go back and now you're even talking about that, you think about all the variety and differences of all the people that we worked in. That just goes to show that like we can work with just about anybody.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's the lucha style or the Japanese style or the traditional American style or the big man style, because we worked Big Show too. There wasn't nothing that we couldn't do.
Yeah.
There's a lot when I think about it. I never even thought about that until just now, actually.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I mentioned in my opening segment about you guys, innovative yet powerful in-ring tactics. And that's kind of what I think about with you guys. You're so innovative, yet you had this menacing, powerful way about you, And I think that's what makes you so unique.
I know we just bring in an intensity that seems to be kind of, I don't know, unmatched. I think from what, I feel like we overwhelm people sometimes with just the energy that we have with us. And it's weird because I don't feel like I'd take that with me anywhere else.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You're doing the interview and you're like, they're just two laid back dudes just chilling and talking. But something about when that music hits, it's like we're just two freaking monsters, man. I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah.
We're so amped up.
Well, you guys had your final match in WWE in 2019 against Heavy Machinery. Did you guys know at that time that could be your last one with the company at that time?
No, I think we were thinking we were still coming back the next week, or I guess we did come back the next week in Montreal, and that was when they did the draft, and they'd told us we were going to be moved, or we were staying on Raw, I guess is what we were told. So it was just like, okay, going to go home and be back again next week and be working on main event or whatever it is that they were doing before Raw. And then we just didn't come back. I figure I took one day off. I asked for one Monday Night Raw off because I had something going on, and they decided not to bring us back after that.
Yeah, I was totally blindsided. I mean, just from a fan standpoint, it's like, what? Are you kidding me right now? What's going on right here? I don't understand why they're letting these guys go, because they're probably one of the best things they got going right now in the tag team division. It was mind blowing.
It was what it was. I think in the grand scheme of things, like everything's meant for a reason. And, I think it was time for us to check out to be honest with you. And as much as I hate saying that, I do think that, Vic and I needed to quote unquote take a break for a little bit. It just so happened that COVID happened, and I think everybody was forced to take a break.
Yeah, we'd already had a long one before that. Then COVID hit again, so it was just back into the cage again for a little bit. So But I mean, I know we needed the time off. I know I was angry for about a month, and then I just didn't care anymore. And I figured, oh, that feels worse not caring. So I should probably do something about that.
So when you look back on your run in NXT and of course the main roster at WWE, is there anything you would have done differently, or would you have kept it exactly the same? What are your thoughts on that?
And
Mm.
I
That's
don't
such a
know,
tough
because
question.
there's nothing I would have done differently in NXT.
Definitely
And
not there.
and I remember I talked to Kane about, I think, our first kind of day up, and like that was the only thing I ever had a question about, was if we had gone to talk to Vince about something, would it have changed anything for the better or the worse? And I just remember Kane saying, it could have gone either way, and there's no point in beating yourself up about it. And that was the only thing I could ever think of, because I know we always did what we felt we should be doing the rest of the time.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this is going to be the cranium shot portion of the show. I'm going to say a name. It's going to be a tag team that you've been in the ring with or been associated with at some point in time. You just give me the first thing that pops in your mind. Can be one word, can be several words, whatever comes to mind. Okay, you ready?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Primetime players.
Thaddeus. That's all I'm going to say. I'll keep it right there.
Oh, I mean, I just
Tight
had like
duty.
I had like 20 things shoot through my mind all at once, because when I like love them.
Oh yeah. How do you not love him?
Yeah,
Right.
well, I mean, and both of them too. I just mean it was funny the way it worked out, I guess.
All right. The
Oh,
Shield.
yeah.
Oh, it was
I don't
awesome.
have- yeah. Like, yeah, they're just all three great dudes. I mean, they're just awesome. Yeah, you can't what the heck.
Yeah.
All right. Ms. Dow.
God. Love them.
Loved them, and yeah, wow, did they ever that was one they really messed up on too.
Right? Oh,
Yeah.
Right. All right. The Bludgeon Brothers.
Oh, wow.
that's a tough one.
I think ouch,
Good one.
because I remember taking that finish and that hurt. But both our brothers, that's for sure.
Yeah, brothers.
All right. Finally, the New Day.
The best.
I'm just thinking of booty shaking.
Yeah, I mean,
I had to
I've
shake
never
my booty against Big E.
what I always think of is, I just, when I go into a store now in a mall somewhere, and when I see the superstars that are on things, I couldn't be happier that I see those three dudes
Yep.
representing wrestling and
They're so
the
genuine.
company. Yeah, there's not three better guys in the business than those three. So.
Kofi's like family, to my wife and I. She's best friends with Chi Chi, his wife, and it's just they are just like, I don't know, like I agree, Vic. Like I love them guys so much. They were so good to us, and they believed in us so much.
Yeah, I mean, I lived with Woods for a couple of years, and I know what he went through in that time as well. Just between the transition and them, we were working them as they were becoming the New Day and stuff. And so it's,
How can you not get a smile on your face when you see a box of Bootios on the shelf?
Yeah.
Oh my God, incredible! I just wish nothing but success for all three of them for the rest of their life. They're just such great people.
Yeah.
So where can fans follow you guys on social media?
Well, I know we got both our Twitters and Instagrams, and Big Cons is a little easier than mine, because mine's at Vic _the_ Space Lord, and that's for both Instagram and Twitter.
And mine's big _con1. And just look, all you got to do is look for the verifications, the little blue checks on our stuff. You'll find us.
Yeah. There's not too many fake accounts of me, I don't think.
But guys, cannot wait to see you in action. UCW, it's going to be Summer Slamboree, September the 12th, Sunday, September 12th, Greenville, South Carolina. You can purchase your tickets